my child to the mosque every time, make use of the facilities, all the bills that are being paid, and never put my hand in my pocket or say, tell my child, go and give this to the mosque or give this to a poor person. We must role model generosity. We must role model humility. Humility is the highest virtue. The greatest leaders are the humblest leaders. We must role model humility, role model generosity, role model honesty, balance. Every great virtue that is out there, we need to role model that. I've done my research and my studies on Islamic organizations, about 50 of them, especially in Southeast Michigan and Toledo. And I found that in every community, there are what we call servant leaders. People simply admire those leaders. Sayyidul Qawm Khadimuhum. They serve, they offer their time, they offer their money, they offer their talent, they offer their outreach, their warmth. All these they offer, and people appreciate that. Sometimes they think it's a thankless task, but it does not go unnoticed. If it does not go unnoticed, then Allah will also notice that. Ibn Ata'ullah al-Iskandari was a great philosopher and a spiritual writer. And he says that if you pay Allah in cash, do you think Allah is so poor that Allah cannot pay you back in cash? We believe in Allah's credit. Allah's going to give us Jannah. Alright? But Allah will also pay us back in this world. People will appreciate what you've done. And we will sometimes see the results of our efforts and the labor of the fruit of our labor. We will see it in this world. So, yes, we need to do everything with rigor. We need to role model. We need relationships. I've gone out to many churches, synagogues, and other places of worship, and also other communities. And it is wonderful to know that many churches out there have what we call the parking lot ministry. Now, the parking lot ministry simply means that you are going to take, if a stranger comes into the parking lot on a Jum'ah, there's already a group of, could be young people, could be older people, women and men, welcoming the stranger. Some of us have to notice, oh, you've been around for quite a while. No one has asked them, how are you? Do you have any needs? Could I be of some help? The parking lot ministry is something that we could imitate. There's nothing wrong in imitating the best that is in other communities. We came to America, and that was 8-9 years ago, and we found that you put your money in the gas tank, and then you pay the cash afterwards at the cashier. And that was when the prices were still very low. Today, most of these gas stations say pay cash first and then come on. That honesty, well, that's admirable. We wonder if we go back to our Muslim countries if that was possible, or even going back to South Africa. So imitating the best of that other communities have to offer, that is something that we should not be ashamed of, something that we should not be embarrassed about. That is what the Muslims have done throughout the world. If the Prophet's command is utlubul ilm walau kana bisin, seek knowledge even if it is in China, then the Prophet is telling us there's going to be things in China that are not being done the Arab way. It's not being done the Persian way. It's not being done the South Asian way. It's done the Chinese way. Go and look for knowledge even in China. Many times, and I think one of the big issues that come up in interfaith dialogue when we meet other people is the position of women in Islam. And I often like to mention the Chinese example. Now we know that Islam came to China during the time of Uthman bin Affan, the second Caliph of Islam. So just about a few decades after the death of the Prophet, Islam reached China. When Islam came to China during the Abbasid dynasty, the Muslims had a very privileged position because they used to protect the king of the time. He gave them special places to live. The Chinese Muslims have what we call the Nusi Mosque. And the Nusi Mosque is a all women's mosque. So you have the men's mosque, and maybe adjacent to the men's mosque you have a women's mosque, or maybe a block down the road or a few roads away you have the women's mosque. Woman imam, woman muazzin. The women developed or invented their own kung fu and own martial arts techniques. They did not need the men to protect them. But the Nusi mosque is unique. And when people say, well, Islam does not allow women to become imams, I say, well, we have Nusi mosque and women leading women. So perhaps unlike the Catholic community where women are not allowed at all to be what we would call the priest, Islam had women leading women, and especially in China, that is the case. Utlubul ilm walau kana bisin. Even today, we don't have to go, we can go to China and learn from the Chinese Muslims, the Yu community, a different way of interpreting Islam. Having said that, so the 4 R's that we have would be rigor, role modeling, we have relationships, very important. Where sometimes people break away from masajid, people stay away from masajid because of our relationships. Oh, that sister didn't want to greet me. Well, those people, we were 3 Muslims, and all of them speak English, and they just spoke their language all the time, and I felt completely excluded. We cannot exclude people. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that if 3 people is in a gathering and one doesn't understand what the other is saying, then they must stop speaking what they are speaking. The other person should not be suspicious that, or maybe they are gossiping about me, they are saying this about me. Where's the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that if you break the heart of the believer, it's worse than breaking down the Kaaba stone by stone? Now, when Muslims, there's nothing wrong with Islam. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Islam. No problem with Islam. The problem is always with the Muslims. The problem is always with the interpretations of Islam that we have been exposed to. We started a debating group in the mosque, where the different mosques that I've been associated with. I'm still associated with 3 mosques, but 2 rules in the debating group. And the one rule is, when you speak, do not say Islam says this. There are different interpretations of Islam, different madhahib. Your level of understanding of Islam could be perhaps at the elementary level, or you could be middle school level, or high school, or graduate, undergrad, or postgraduate level. You speak from a frame of reference, a certain exposure to Islam, and you are limited in that sense. So you could say, my current understanding of Islam, this is not allowed. The way I understand Islam at present, that is allowed. We could speak in that way. The ulama, the scholars who have thorough knowledge of Islam, they are very, very careful about saying this is haram, this is halal. They would always say, well, I think that comes close to makruh, or that's a makruh tanzihi or makruh tahrimi. A great makruh or a smaller makruh, which means dislike. And they would say, Wallahu a'lamu bis-sawab. Whenever they end off, and Allah knows best. So that humility we must bring into our discussions. When I speak to a different group for da'wah, I never say that Islam says this. I say I'm a representative of Islam. There are many opinions out there, and there are 2 words I want you to take home, and those words are, Islam is a mosaic and not a monolith. Islam is a mosaic and not a monolith. There's no single opinion in Islam about most issues. All right? Very important. One of the greatest dangers and violences we do to Islam is to give a single identity to all Muslims. Now all Muslims